Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel Flower Medicascope, and today we are going to learn chapter 8 in H.A.Robert's philosophy, and that is taking the case. So before learning this chapter, I would recommend you to study from paragraph 83 to 104. That is aphorism 83 to 104 deals with case taking. So in this chapter, it is basically H.A.Robert's explanation about case taking. So either you watch one of my previous video which I have already explained 83 to 104 case taking, or else you just read by yourself and understand these aphorisms, and then you watch this, so that you will not just understand the aphorisms but also understand what H.A.Robert is trying to tell us, what he is explaining to us. So this chapter is basically case taking. So you can write both. You can write, if they are asking H.A.Robert's explanation, then you can write this along with that aphorisms explanation. So that's how this chapter is. So let's learn what is the chapter is trying to tell us. First one is case taking. So I will recommend you to write a definition for this chapter, and let's learn what is case taking. Case taking in homeopathy is the cornerstone of accurate remedy selection. It involves understanding the patient holistically and thoroughly documenting their symptoms. The goal is twofold. One is diagnosis, that is, we should classify the disease condition for understanding. This is not for therapeutic use as in conventional medicine, but simply to group the symptoms under diagnostic categories. So the explanation is, first when we learn diagnosis, for us homeopaths, it's not for a therapeutic use, because it's actually for allopathics. They will diagnose the disease and they will give the medicine accordingly. But for us, it's not diagnostic, it's not a therapeutic use, because we are taking the case based on individualism. So but we should know the naming of the diseases, and the diagnosis is the naming of the disease, and to understand the complication, risk factors, and prognosis, that is the result, the end result of the disease, that is prognosis. So we should understand all those things, and for that we should learn diagnosis. So that's why diagnosis, in order to classify the disease condition for understanding, and it is not for therapeutic use. And conventional medicine means allopathic, that's English medicines. So next, second one is therapeutic individualization. Here comes our therapeutic use, that is individualization. We should treat the patient as a unique individual by focusing on their personal symptom totality. So the process requires patience, objectivity, and meticulous recording to create a detailed, reliable case record. And let's see what are the primary objectives in case taking. First one is diagnosis. As I already told, homeopathic diagnosis differs from conventional medicine. It identifies symptom clusters and disease classification but does not guide treatment. The treatment focuses solely on the individual's unique symptom presentation, not on the diagnostic category. We are not treating the disease. We are treating the patient. We are just treating the patient, not the disease. We are not treating the condition, but the person as a whole, isn't it? That's why the primary objectives in case taking. The second objective is symptom totality. So the main objective is to uncover and organize the patient's symptom into a coherent picture. This includes clarifying, expanding, and detailing every symptom provided by the patient. And then key considerations for case taking. One is recording symptoms, essential for accuracy. Maintain detailed records during the consultation to avoid omissions. So we should take a detailed case taking. We should record all the symptoms, and we should review and track all those, because it helps in reviewing past prescriptions and understanding the progression or suppression of the symptoms. So we should maintain records. We can either maintain records by keeping a diary or notebooks, or just a paper, or record keeping methods are there, like files. All those kinds of methods are there. So we should follow all such systematic things, because it will help us to when we record all these symptoms, it not only just help us to review and track all those things, but also it helps in accuracy to find the patient's information and details. And the second one is physician's attitude. Maintain a calm, unbiased demeanor to avoid preconceived notions about remedies or conditions. Then prioritize attentive listening and empathy. Again, basic information to note are the patient's name, age, gender, occupation, and family health history. So when we record all these, the first page should be about personal details. You have already seen in your hospitals or nearby hospitals, first they will ask what's your name, how old are you, all those kind of information is really important. So all these things should be noted. Then past illness, like recovery patterns and whether the patient was ever never well since a specific event or illness. Sometimes the patient will say, since COVID I am suffering from this complaint, or since that chickenpox I suffered, I am suffering this. So I was never well since I had COVID. I was never well since I had that viral infection, that these all those things. So that never well since, to understand all those things we should understand past illness, and there will be some surgical procedures they have done. So all these things must be noted. So you should write like first you should write which year or the timeline which was affected. Then you should write what disease that person had suffered. Then you should write whether the person has been recovered from this disease, or which medicine or which medication did he choose. Then is he under medication, all those things. So past illness should cover all these things. Again, current symptoms. Current symptom means allow the patient to narrate the issues in their own words without interruption. So if the patient is speaking to us, we shouldn't interrupt in between, because it is not actually a standard format to take the case, and also it is not a pleasing character to interrupt the patient, isn't it? So we shouldn't interrupt. And the third thing is, the patient might forget what he was trying to say to us. So why to make such problems? So you should be calm, you should be taking some time, and if the patient is deviating from the topic, then you can just interrupt and ask about the topic. So other than that, you shouldn't interrupt the patient. Then the process of case taking. Step 1 is allow the patient to narrate. So after taking all those details about personal details, all those things, you should allow the patient to narrate. Ask the patient to describe how they became ill and how they feel. Avoid interruptions to maintain the flow of their thoughts, and leave spaces in your notes for later clarifications. So because why it is sometimes the patient might forget some, like for example, he was having headache, but he might have forgotten to tell that when you drink cold juices or cold drinks, his headache gets ameliorated. He might have forgotten to tell that. So after taking all the case, only he will be saying. So we should have some space to write that, isn't it? So that's why we are going to leave some spaces in our notes for later clarifications. Again, step 2 is avoid pitfalls. Never ask leading questions that suggest answers. Avoid direct yes or no questions. Do not question based on your assumptions about remedies. So all these things are, we should stay focused on one symptom at a time to avoid confusion. First and foremost, we shouldn't ask the patient direct question or leading question, or the questions which is the reply will be yes or no. Or we shouldn't question as per our assumption. You know why? Because sometimes, for example, you'll be asking, do you like summer climate? Do you like summer climate? That's a question. So the answer will be yes, I like summer climate, or no, I don't like summer climate. That's all. So that doesn't give us a correct answer. Instead, you should ask, which weather do you like, or which weather you feel sick, or which climate is not good for you. All such questions. So the person will think about it, and it will give an answer, or she will give an answer. He or she will give, as it can give us an idea. Not only the patient will be saying, I love summer season, but I cannot tolerate winter season. Or sometimes they will say, I like winter season, but I cannot tolerate such cold foods, cold drinks. So we are getting all those information from the patient itself. So that's why we are telling we shouldn't ask leading questions. And the second thing is, if you are asking questions based on your assumptions about remedies, for example, pulsatilla. So you shouldn't ask, do you like fatty foods, or do you hate butter, or do you like that, these all those things, thinking that the patient is pulsatilla just because the patient weeps while seeing the complaint. We shouldn't assume like that. Sometimes Naxvomic also might cry while she's eliciting the symptoms. So you shouldn't judge a person by thinking about the remedies that you are keeping in your mind. Instead, you should be calm. You should ask all those questions which is very necessary for your case taking, and shouldn't prejudge, or you shouldn't be prejudiced. Third one is clarify and expand the symptoms. For each symptom, document location, sensation, modality, causation. All these 4 points is necessary. Location, that is, where is the symptom felt? Is it on the head? Is it on the leg? If it is leg, which leg? Right or left? In leg, where? So all those questions, that location is very important. Second one is sensation. What kind of pain or discomfort is it? Example, burning, stabbing. So you should ask like, do you have pain? The patient will be saying, yes, I have pain. So that question is, when she asks all these questions, you should ask what kind of pain you are having. You shouldn't ask like whether it is, do you have aching pain? You shouldn't ask like that. Instead, what kind of pain you are having? So the patient will be saying, I have burning pain, or I have aching pain. If it is muscle related, if the person is saying, I have just pain, then it means aching pain. Muscles will be having aching pain, isn't it? So all such questions, you should learn what types of pain. It will be available in books, or you can search in dictionaries about types of pain, which all you know, and understand in English and in your native language also. Sometimes the patient will be saying some native language answers that which you may or may not know. So you should understand all those. And then third is modalities, that what makes it better or worse. Example, time of day, weather, positions. Then causation, what does the patient think triggered it? So all these things must be noted. Then step 4 is evaluate totality of symptoms. After getting all those symptoms, those modalities and everything, you should emphasize general symptoms, those affecting the patient as a whole. So you should classify it as general symptoms, like common, uncommon, all such things. When you evaluate the totality of symptoms, first you should write general symptoms, and then you should include mental symptoms, which reflect the patient's emotional and psychological state. Then strange, rare, peculiar symptoms hold significant value for remedy selection. So you should take all the symptoms totality and give an importance to not only to the physical symptoms but also to the mental symptoms also. Then handling acute and chronic cases. So when you handle acute conditions, you should focus only on the acute symptoms. Avoid considering past chronic symptoms, as these often reside during acute flare-ups. So when you are taking acute case, you should just take acute case and not chronic case, because it can lead to complication. And when you're taking chronic case, then thoroughly investigate the history and the progression of the symptoms. We should know what symptom was the first symptom, what next came, and that will understand the progression of the symptoms. Then address chronic issues having after acute phases have resolved, as they often resurface more clearly post acute episodes. So for these all things, you should learn anatomy, physiology, then pathology and practice of medicine thoroughly. Then only you will understand the progression of the disease. You can understand the disease, and then you should be thorough with the materia medica, organon and repertory for your homeopathic practice, because then only you can apply homeopathy, isn't it? So then next is symptom details to gather. So general aggravations, what are symptoms we should gather? Weather, like hot weather, cold, damp or windy weather. Then we should ask time of the day. Physical activities or rest. Thermal reactions, is the patient generally hot or cold, or reaction to sweating like offensive aprophysis. So in this chapter actually what H.A.Robert is giving us clues or ideas, like even the aphorism, even if all these things are not explained in detail, but he's just explained to us what all we should ask, or what are symptoms we should ask to gather the symptoms. So all these things should be noted. And the third one is mental symptoms, how we can take, we should ask about fears, anxiety, fixed ideas, then whether the person is having any emotional trigger, then disposition changes like irritability, sadness. Then we should ask about dreams and sleep, like nature of dreams. Sometimes the patient will be saying, I have actually dreams of snake, or dreams of robbers, I have dreams of ghosts, I have dreams of dead people. So if you search all these dreams in repertory, you can understand there are so many remedies that's coming under. So then not only just dreams, but also sleep positions and disturbances are also included. Sometimes a person will be loving to sleep on the abdomen, or sometimes on the right side or left side or straight. It depends on the person. So you should study all those things also, because it may or may not be interesting for some people, but if you study all these things, that can also help us to get the remedy. Then cravings and aversions, particular preference or dislikes for food and drinks. Then what are the skills that is required for effective case taken? First one is listening skill. You should engage the patient in a conversation to elicit information naturally. You should create a rapport between you and the patient. Then only the patient will be having that freedom to tell everything. Otherwise, the patient will be getting it or keeping it on himself or herself, like secretive. So we should prevent the patient from veering off topic while keeping the discussion tactful. Sometimes there are some loquacious patients, like the person who loves to talk, and the person will jump from one topic to another, and the main purpose of the case taking will be gone. So you should have that listening skill and that skill to prevent the patient from going off topic. Okay, the second one is observation, not subtle behavior cues, expression and movements. Third is questioning. Use open-ended question to complete the symptom picture. Fourth one is analysis. After gathering all the symptoms, verify and cross-check the completeness of the case record. Then mental symptoms of special focus. So observe for signs like irritability, sadness or excessive cleanliness. These may not be explicitly stated but are essential for remedy selection. Then final review. Before concluding the section, revisit family and personal history, completeness of the mental, general and physical symptoms, the sequence and modalities of all symptoms. Then proper case taking is an art requiring patience, keen observation, skillful questioning. It forms the foundation for accurate homeopathic prescription and long-term patient management. So that's all about this chapter. I hope you understood the chapter. If you have any doubts, please comment below. I'm open for any suggestions. If you like this video, please put a like and share the video to all your fellow mates and to everyone who is really needed. This channel is particularly for free education for all the fellow homeopaths who is